It's Blackboytj back in the video, and today we are reacting to K2O what the NFL was like 10 years ago. Now, during this time, it was 2012. It was a it was actually a great time, man. Rodgers was still in his prime on the Packers. Brady was still with the Patriots. Michael Vick was making a big comeback. Ravens was still the Ravens. Well, got drama with Denver, with Indianapolis, because I think that was the year Peyton Manning got injured. The whole league as a whole was just so much fun.
October 15th, 2012, the Denver Broncos headed on the road to face their division rival, San Diego. The Broncos were led by quarterback Peyton Manning, who didn't play in 2011 after receiving multiple surgeries on his neck. The Colts, who he had played for over a decade, let him go, and the Broncos took a chance on him. 5 games in, despite Manning himself playing well, the Broncos were 2-3. A loss to the Chargers here would certainly put a huge dent in their playoff hopes. Well, by halftime, the Chargers were smoking the Broncos 24-0. But then, this happened.
Comeback, yep.
Gay back in. Over the top, Manning. Touchdown. There you go, coach. Field goal range, just at the edge of it on 3rd and 8. Rivers hands it close. The ball is...
Yo, that Denver defense, they were when they started picking up the pace. We all know what happened to Cam Newton. Sorry.
This one is
Greg.
And it may score with Tony Carter, who is free and all the way home for a game-changing score. 2nd and 3.
A 24-0 lead.
Getting a block from Thomas, getting a block from Stokely, getting into the end zone for the touchdown. Finally gets the snap away, and Manning fires. End zone. Stokely went up and caught it for the touchdown.
Yep.
This amazing comeback by the Broncos was the official turning point for both of these teams. And this was just one of the many epic moments that happened in the NFL back in 2012.
Of course.
So, along with Peyton Manning going to the Broncos, here were some other important preseason storylines. Since the Broncos did acquire Peyton Manning, they traded away Tim Tebow to the Jets. This was a huge media story, since Tebow was coming off that magical playoff run the previous season. Randy Moss, after retiring in 2011, came out of retirement to join the 49ers. Could the Eagles bounce back with Michael Vick? Vick had won Comeback Player of the Year in 2010, but he had regressed a bit in 2011. Some believed that if he could stay healthy, then him, Andy Reid, and Philadelphia were in for a potential playoff run. Were the Panthers with second-year starting quarterback Cam Newton a playoff team? How would the previous Super Bowl champion Giants fare? How many rookie quarterbacks were going to start?
We're not gonna talk about this, bro. I was heated, bro. I'm still gonna stand by this. Overrated. He only beat us because of his defense. He didn't do jack shit. We lost because of his defense, not because of him. So don't ever say Eli owns Tom Brady, because he doesn't. We lost to their defense in a lucky ass catch that never should have happened.
How would the New Orleans Saints cope without Sean Payton after the This was the year that New Orleans was busted for Bountygate. Their defensive coordinator Greg Williams was suspended indefinitely, and Sean Payton was suspended for a year. But nothing would dominate the headlines to begin the first few weeks of the season like the replacement refs did. I'll go ahead.
No, that's the wrong team. Seahawks, Packers, Monday Night Football. Clearly is an interception. They rule it as a touchdown. You can't make that shit up.
Exactly what went down. Basically, the regular refs were in a lockout that began in June of 2012. And instead of getting a new deal done with the NFL Referees Association, Roger Goodell decided to take a chance on new referees to start the season. His reason was because they had already dealt with this problem back in 2001, and things didn't go too bad. The difference was, back in 2001, some of those replacement refs were as good as Division I level refs. Now, in 2012, the NFL could only get high school and some lower college level refs.
That explains a lot. High school referees, that explains a lot. That explains.
There were even former lingerie football league refs out there to start the NFL season.
Nigga? But don't get me wrong, female football is very, very entertaining, more entertaining than the WNBA. I'm gonna say it. Females playing football is way more entertaining than WNBA.
This proved to be a complete disaster. Just total and utter incompetence. Incorrectly awarding extra timeouts, failing to throw flags on very obvious helmet-to-helmet collisions, a 6-minute review just to realize that the play they were reviewing wasn't even allowed to be reviewed, failing to even review if this game-winning field goal went in or not, and most notoriously,
and they screwed us.
The Fail Mary,
what did I say?
These two referees made different signals.
He was right. The black guy was right. The black guy was right in this scenario. The black guy was right. The black guy was correct. And you know what they went? They went with the white guy. It's clearly in his possession. Clearly in his hands. Clearly. Alright, first of all, look where he's armed. He's not holding the ball. He's holding his arm.
When they definitely shouldn't have. Things had gotten so bad that just weeks after the start of the season, an agreement was reached to bring back the actual refs, which was met with applause. Having the wrong people in referee uniforms proved to have terrible consequences. Kind of like not having any protection from identity theft. Did you know there's a new victim of identity theft every 14 seconds? Luckily, today's video is sponsored by Aura. I'm really excited about Aura because it has identity theft protection, fraud monitoring, password management, and antivirus software all combined into one easy-to-use passwords and social security.
Think about my passwords being compromised, like over the internet or the dark web or anything, but I logged onto my Aura account and clicked the top corner and literally found out that 4 of my passwords have been leaked to the dark web.
And with fraud, literally every second matters, up to where we'll all these 14 days to the dark web. Overall, they had gone 15-1. 12 season. Here were the top 10 power rankings. Green Bay had gone.
You bet your fucking ass we was. Just for us to lose to these fuckers. Mind you, I'm from New York. I hated it. I hated it. I'm from New York and I hated it. I hated it. I hated when the Giants won because we were supposed to win.
On 15-1 the year before, so many saw them as the favorites. Of course, everyone was also eager to see how the previous Super Bowl champion Giants would play in 2012. And as far as players go, here were the top 5 statistically at quarterback, running back, and receiver.
Look at the names, bro. All of them are childhood, bro. All of them are childhood. Brady was only 34. Stafford was only 23. Rodgers was only 28. He's like, what, in his 30s? That's when Joan Juice, Ray Rice was in the league. Sean McCoy was on his bullshit. Megatron was supposed to be Megatron. Wes Walker was a great slot receiver. Got Larry Fish. Look at the names. At the time, the only person really liking the Giants was indeed Victor Cruz.
Receiver from the previous season, just to give you an idea of who was putting up the best numbers. Also, Madden 13 with Calvin Johnson.
We don't talk about that game. We don't dare mention that game. See, later on in the channel, you're gonna realize why I, despite Madden 13 more than any other game in my entire life, this game is the sole reason why Madden is what it is today. You want to know where Madden started fucking up? It was this game right here. That's when they started fucking up. That's when they went downhill. They took everything that we loved out of the game. Everything we loved. Franchise, gone. Create a team, gone. Superstar mode, downgraded. They downgraded everything to push Ultimate Team that now everyone hates. I personally never liked Ultimate Team like that. But thanks to this game, we have EA in this current state, where we just expect a bad game every single year. Nah, no, I'm fucking up on the full screen. But we just expect a bad game every single year, and it's solely because of this game. Some people consider 13 the GOAT. Okay, alright, I respect it. But you do realize that's the game that destroyed Madden, right? Like, we got to think reality for a second. That game destroyed Madden. If that game was just like 12, we would have not had shitty Maddens at all, actually. Because franchise would have been improved even more, enhanced even more. But no, this downgraded for Ultimate Team.
Johnson on the cover was released in August. Okay, now let's go over the regular season and then look at some storylines and stats at the end.
Falcons down by one.
Julio.
And going deep for Roddy White.
Oh, Roddy White.
And White makes the catch.
Roddy White and Julio Jones was special. It was special.
Roddy White.
By week 5, the Texans and Falcons were ahead of the pack, dominating with high-powered offenses. The Cardinals were also undefeated, but people felt that they were still pretenders. Week 6, with the Packers crumbling, the Bears and Vikings took charge in the NFC North. Week 8, the Cardinals, who had lost 3 straight, officially were pretenders after starting undefeated. The Falcons were still holding strong as
kind of the same way how they was this year. They was undefeated, and when they lost to Green Bay, they just like they still were contenders, but they could have possibly fallen behind. They kept
6-0, and Houston still looked very strong after blowing out the 5-2 Ravens. Matt Schaub, Arian Foster, and Andre Johnson were a scary 3-headed monster in 2012.
Sure.
Week 10. Halfway through the season, the Falcons still hadn't lost. The Bears and Texans were right behind them, and some were saying that if the Bears offense could get in gear, they would be considered the best team in football.
That's always the Bears' problem, though. The Bears always has a great defense, but a bad offense. This year, they didn't give Justin Fields nothing. I mean, we gave them Harry because we wasn't doing nothing with them, so they could have him. But Justin Fields needs weapons. Y'all gonna kill that man, bro.
Their defense and special teams were literally dominating. They had scored 2 touchdowns and a safety in the first quarter alone versus the Titans. Week 11, the Falcons finally dropped a game, and Houston, after meeting with the Bears, proved that they were the best team.
Houston was really number one at some point.
The Niners and Ravens were also looking strong and steady like they had all year. The Packers were back on track, and the Giants had started to fall off after dropping a few games. Week 14, entering the final stretch of the regular season, the Texans and Falcons stood at 11-1, and the Niners, despite being 8-3-1, were still trying to figure out what to do at quarterback, since Colin Kaepernick stepped in and performed really well after Alex Smith's concussion. They would eventually decide to ride with Kaepernick for the rest of the season due to how well that he was performing. Also, Colts rookie Andrew Luck had been incredible, as it looked like he was going to carry the Colts to the playoffs.
Bro,
Week 15.
His career, man. If he was still going, I think he would have been an MVP candidate right now, in my opinion. If he was still going. And if Jonathan Taylor and Pittman with him, dude, we're talking about the Colts possibly being the Super Bowl contenders. Possibility. If not playoffs, definitely playoffs.
The Patriots blow out the 11-1 Texans, and they put themselves back on top. Denver is right behind them after winning 8 straight with Manning. Kaepernick is taking the NFL by storm, and the Ravens, despite being 9-4, fired their offensive coordinator. Week 16. Kaepernick continues his brilliance with 4 touchdown passes. The Broncos keep their winning streak alive, and the Seahawks, with rookie Russell Wilson and veteran running back Marshawn Lynch, are surging. And to end the regular season, the Broncos finish on an 11-game win streak, and they were the hottest team in the NFL. The Seahawks had shocked everybody as well, and their defense had officially become the Legion of Boom. Washington also surged with Archie 3, who had won Rookie of the Year with his impressive dual-threat versatility. The Packers overcame early struggle.
Archie, I still feel bad about what happened to him. He's a big what-if, bro. And not only that, like, watching that game against Seattle when he did go down, shit, I was scared, bro. Because he was so entertaining to watch.
The Bears had collapsed at the end of the season, which cost head coach Lovie Smith his job. The Texans, despite finishing 12-4, really had fallen off. And same as the Ravens, who were, quote, limping into the playoffs after losing 4 of their last 5.
And off is to Peterson, gets by Raji, gets by Pickett. Gets
Brian
into the
Major Peterson.
secondary. MD Jennings forces him out of bounds at the 40. Now he is over 2,000 yards for the season, the 7th running back in the history of the league to get there.
He tore his ACL at the end of the 2011 season, which generally takes about 9 months to heal from, and most don't come back where they left off. Peterson came back ready to go earlier than expected and stronger than ever. He landed just 9 yards shy of the all-time single-season rushing record and went on to win league MVP. Now, as far as single-season records go, this guy put himself in the history books. Calvin Johnson was in the midst of the greatest 2-year stretch by a receiver that we had ever seen. Peterson and Johnson at this time actually gave NFL fans...
Bro, Calvin was stuck on Detroit. Stafford kind of proved if you just leave Detroit, you can do so much better things. He won a Super Bowl after leaving. What if they let Calvin and Barry Sanders go, bro?
Fans a reason to tune in to a Vikings-Lions game.
Yeah.
Also, in 2012, Chuck Pagano landed his first ever head coaching job in the NFL with the Colts. But he was unfortunately diagnosed with leukemia early into the season, which he went into treatment for beginning week 5. He did not coach the team at this time, and the team was turned over to interim coach Bruce Arians. Then, with Pagano's cancer in remission, he returned for the final week of the regular season, which was met with a huge ovation from his players. The Colts had also finished the year on quite the run, which overall made this the most beautiful feel-good moment of 2012. Another really cool moment was in week 3, when wide receiver Tori Smith had an incredible 127-yard, 2-touchdown performance just one day after finding out that his brother had died. His performance was met with chants from the fans.
They are just battling out there on the outside.
Now, going back to some of the other preseason storylines, Randy Moss put up a modest 400 yards and 3 touchdowns.
He's Niners.
Tim Tebow's year in New York was a...
I remember. Yo, watching, cause remember, I live in New York. Every single Sunday on CBS, I will see the Jets. I was like, is Tim Tebow going to play? Every time I saw Tebow play, it was like, okay, what are you doing, man? Like, what the fuck? Most of the time, the Jets was losing.
Massive flop. They couldn't figure out an effective way to use him, and this would be his only season as a Jet. The Giants, 1 year removed from a Super Bowl victory, failed to make the playoffs. The Eagles were the most disappointing team in football, going 4-12, and this was Andy Reid's final season as their coach. The Cowboys looked like they had a good chance to make the playoffs until the Saints did them in. The Saints struggled without their head coach.
That is the ultimate Cowboys moment. Holy fuck. They have a chance to go to the playoffs or a chance to be in the play. Not even a chance at them winning. Somehow losing a close game.
But Drew Brees was as good as ever. The Cardinals started 4-0, like I said, and then they finished 5-11. That's almost as bad as this play.
At Indianapolis, the
He ran his ass.
play here
Cam Newton and the Panthers, record-wise, didn't live up to expectations. There were many rookie quarterbacks who played well. It looked like the future of the NFL was with Andrew Luck, RG3, and Russell Wilson.
Yep.
Okay, now it's time for the playoffs. In the first round of the NFL playoffs,
This is where shit gets spicy. This playoff. Every time during the playoffs as a kid, I watched every single game. Like, I remember a time where I didn't miss a game. I saw every single game from start to finish.
the limping Baltimore Ravens come alive against Andrew Luck. Houston,
and mind you, I think this was Ray Lewis' last season. This was him and Ed Reed's last season together. They went out with a bang. I'm not gonna lie.
Cincinnati.
You're gonna beat
Green
us.
Bay handles Minnesota. And the battle of rookie quarterbacks is ultimately won by Russell Wilson. They were down 14-0 early, but they managed to make a comeback. Also, RG3 suffered a devastating injury in that game. Round 2. Houston can't keep up with Tom Brady. Colin Kaepernick put up an outstanding playoff debut.
That was a game. watching Colin Kaepernick, that was a game. Colin just showed out. He just showed out against Green Bay, and that proved that everybody cannot be Green Bay. No, I said San Francisco. I'm dumb. Like, Rodgers cannot be San Francisco. For some odd reason, the team that passed him up always beats him in the playoffs. Always. He's one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time, and the team that passed him up, he can't beat them. He can't.
Versus the Packers, where he set the all-time quarterback rushing record, including regular season, with 181 yards. Matt Ryan clutches up versus Seattle to win his first career playoff game. And perhaps the biggest upset of the entire playoffs, Baltimore defeats the
Denver.
number 1 seeded Broncos in double overtime. So many big plays happened. 2 kick return touchdowns by Trendon Holiday, an amazing touchdown grab by Tori Smith, and I don't think any Ravens fan is going to forget this play.
Flacco stepping up and throwing deep down the far sideline. Caught into the end zone.
With no timeouts, it was truly an unbelievable moment. Moving on to the AFC Championship.
Yeah, they gave us an L. They gave us an L. Us and Baltimore always went back and forth, but they gave us an L respectfully.
Stunned New England. Talk about an improbable run. The Ravens looked like they were finished by the end of the regular season.
Yeah.
And after 3 incredible wins, they advanced to the Super Bowl. In the NFC Championship, Atlanta looked like they were going to pull away, jumping out on top 17-0.
Oh, and Atlanta does what Atlanta does best and blow a lead.
They blew that 17-point lead.
Sounds about right.
Kaepernick led the comeback and helped the Niners advance to the Super Bowl. Super Bowl 47. The matchup between brother head coaches and 2 teams of destiny. It was a pretty awesome matchup on paper, but rather early, the Ravens asserted their dominance on both sides of the ball. Entering halftime, Baltimore was up 21-6. And then to open the second half, Jacoby Jones took the second half kickoff,
ran it back
109 yards to the house. Now, most people don't even remember all that because of what happened next. The power went out, and it lasted over 35 minutes in front of over 100 million live TV spectators. Coming out of that power outage, the Niners reset the momentum and mounted a comeback. And Colin Kaepernick, down by 5 with less than 2 minutes left, had his chance for Super Bowl glory. On 4th and goal, with the game on the line, this happened.
Overthrew him.
The Ravens went on to win Super Bowl 47, which capped off an epic season of unlikely runs with perhaps the most improbable. Typically, you need to get hot at the right time in sports, and entering the playoffs, like I said, the Ravens had lost 4 of their last 5. And really, it should have been worse. Going back to their Week 12 matchup versus the Chargers, the Ravens were surely going to lose. Backed up to a 4th and 29 after the 2-minute warning, it was their last shot. And it turns out that without this moment right here, the Ravens would have lost the division and possibly would have changed everything.
Flacco in the pocket. Dump off. Rice has some room, but can he really get to that first down? Rice stays on his feet.
That's how special he was. That's how special Ray Rice was, bro. That's how special Ray Rice was, bro. That's how special he was. He was that special, bro. Like, comment, subscribe if you haven't already. I'm gonna fuck with y'all.